Hello and welcome to Conscious Living with Donna Lakes. How are you? And I have my friend Tammy with me today that might be chiming in here or there. She won't be on the video, but she will be in the audio. So, how y'all doing? I hope you guys are doing good on this fine Friday afternoon. Anyways, so today I thought I would talk about subconscious healing, something that I am very versed in because it's a part of the healing process of what I do. I'm more than talk about subconscious healing. I'm going to just talk about the subconscious even, but also how it plays a part in healing and in conscious living, because in order for us to live consciously, that means that we need to live with awareness. And so the subconscious, we operate like 95% from our subconscious. So part of living consciously is bringing the subconscious into the conscious. So bringing our subconscious into awareness so that we know what we're operating from and who we really are, and what are our subconscious beliefs, because that is how we operate. So we create our reality and we operate from what we believe, what our perceptions are. It forms our reality. And have you ever, I think the best example would be have you ever worried about something and it's as if you're living what you're worrying about. Like you get yourself so stressed out about what you're thinking about, what you're worried is going to happen, that it's really as if you are living that. Well, that is what happens when we believe a certain way and we have a certain perception, right? It creates our reality. We're living as if that is really happening. And then if we believe it long enough and strong enough, it really does end up translating into the physical reality. But at first, we're just living it in our minds. So when somebody says something to us, we could take it the wrong way because we have this certain perception, this certain belief. I hope you guys are grasping what I'm saying. And so I'm going to try to think of an example from my life where I have done that before to myself. But it's especially when you notice people getting defensive. When somebody says something to someone and they get defensive, it's because it's it's as if, they think that you're saying or implying something that you're not. Has that ever happened to you? Well, that is just one example of what it is like, to live from a certain perception. Okay. So let me see if I can think of an example. Can you think of an example? Do you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
You know what I'm talking about? So an example would be, so today, for example, one of my coworkers, she was very snappy earlier, and she called and she apologized to me because she thought maybe I would take it personal and think that she was mad at me, because like a lot of times when I get snappy, she takes it personal and she thinks that I'm like mad at her, or she's not doing a good job, or it's not good enough what she's doing, or I'm implying that she's dropping the ball or not doing something the way I wanted, or something like that, and I work with very sensitive people because we're all empathic and we're all, healers and very sensitive people, even my administrative staff. So earlier when she was upset, she was, she was like frustrated. She was frustrated because somebody hadn't sent her something that she needed in preparation for a meeting with the website person. And she was venting to me, really is what she was doing. But she thought that maybe I took it personal and like that I was upset with her or whatever. And she apologized, but I didn't take it personal at all. I know that her dog just died. I know, that she's got a lot going on, and that it is frustrating when you ask people for something and they don't give it to you in time, So I understood her frustration. And I absolutely didn't take it personal at all. And so it was nice that she called to apologize though. But yeah, that's an example of, the misunderstandings we can have because of our subconscious beliefs. I think that sometimes if I'm grumpy with my staff, they will take it personal because they still need to work on certain ones, still need to work on, the belief that they're not good enough, or the belief that they're responsible, like it's their fault, and it causes people to act a certain way. So you know what I'm saying? That happens. And especially in times of high pressure or times of grief, when people are going through some kind of stress, this can happen. But this is an example of perception. And they would live as if, I'm upset with them if I get a little grumpy and vent or get frustrated. But it's not that. But another example, I think that would be a good example too, is that like I might think that something's not getting done, or that I'm not being heard, because my old staff, that would happen a lot, but this staff is like pretty really on it. And they're like, no, I did that. And, no, it's not as it seems, like, that got done or whatever. And I would, so just living from the perspective of, so for me, that goes into the belief of like, I'm not supported, because I used to have like a lot of support issues and people would drop the ball a lot. And now that doesn't really happen so much because of me healing that. But sometimes I might, dip back into that a little bit and then realize, oh, that's just from old scarring, old wounding, and that's not really happening. So we have to kind of like watch ourselves with that, and observe ourselves with that, and bring that into our conscious awareness so that we can operate from the now, first of all, and operate from and a place where we don't take things personally, because really how people act is never personal. It's really not. It's absolutely has to do with whatever's going on with them at that time. And their perceptions or views from their experiences prior to that occasion. And most of our experiences that form our our beliefs, like I said in the last show, are formed from the ages 0 to 7. So we need to correct those in order to create the life that we want. And that's called conscious creating, when we really work with our belief systems and work with our wounding and our traumas to release them so that we can create differently in our life. So I hope that made a lot of sense, and I hope those examples were helpful. Tammy.
I was just going to ask you, how do you deal with those coming at you, where you take it personally?
Mhm.
At what point do you let it go?
So when you feel like somebody's coming at you with something in an aggressive way or something, and like, so you're talking more about sticking up for yourself when someone actually is attacking you, when someone actually is.
That, or even just letting the whole situation go and put it in the past so you personally are not affected.
Like some of the formative.
Yes.
Okay. So she's asking me like some of the formative beliefs, the experiences that created those perceptions and those beliefs in the first place. Well, that's a big question. So one thing that I like to do, like in the very first healing, when we do what I call Ascension Healing, which encompasses a lot. And I think I've talked about it in other shows, but I'm going to repeat myself in case someone hasn't seen my other shows. So it's kind of like Ascension Healing is to lift your vibration and to shift you into a higher consciousness so that you're living from a higher conscious perspective. Okay. And at the moment we are, trying to learn to live in Christ consciousness, fifth dimensional consciousness, which is really basically what Jesus was trying to teach us, So he was definitely teaching us that. But anyways, so in the first healing, when someone first comes to us, we do like an assessment of their energy and we do an assessment of their beliefs. And this you would have to do with yourself. If you didn't do it with an expert, you'd have to go like, why do I act that way? Why am I doing that? Or why is this person acting that way? Why are they doing that? And what maybe belief? Now, always the beliefs are I am, I am this, I am that, I'm not this, I'm not that, their I am statements. And everything literally boils down to beliefs, you guys, everything. And they are deep buried into our subconscious. I've gotten really good at, being able to see them from a conscious perspective. Sometimes in myself, not until after I've acted a certain way, but anyways, it doesn't matter when you see it, as long as you see it and begin to correct it. So in order to do that, you need to become aware, first of all, what is the belief? You can sit and meditate and be like, what is the belief that's causing me to respond that way, causing me to act that way, or causing the other person to, you know what I mean? But I think what needs to happen is, first you need to teach your subconscious certain things that maybe they don't know. So like in the first healing, some of the things that we teach people are like the law of attraction, or that they are an extension of God and how powerful that we really are. That's really important because we might know it in our conscious, we might know it in ourselves now and like know it, but in order to embody it, we need to reteach that to our subconscious mind. And so that can be done repetitively and with a lot of awareness, or it can be done in a healing. So what we have to do is we have to revisit when some of the first time that we ever created that belief, or an experience that um, backed that belief up, because we just keep piling on experience after experience after experience that um, ingrains that belief into us over and over again. We keep repeating it like a broken record, if that's makes any sense. Um, so, why do people keep treating me this way? Why do why do I keep attracting the same type of people? Why do I, and it can be good things. It can be good things. Like my friend, she always wins the lotto because she believes she's gonna win the lotto. And she believes that God's got her back and she's gonna win the lotto. So she does, she does always win like a 500 or $1,000, here and there. But anyways, so we have to retell the story. We have to go back to the original wound, or one of the most traumatic wounds, and look at it from a different perspective, and literally see why someone else is acting the way that they act, and that has nothing to do with us. And like literally what I call disproving the belief. So disproving the belief and proving the opposite.
Rewriting the story.
Yep, rewriting the story. Yep. And that's how we do it, is we rewrite the story. And then we could do affirmations to support that. But that's a lot of times why affirmations don't work, is because that story is so strong and it's really hard to embody that belief. And a lot of times we know it in our minds, but we can't embody it until the subconscious is addressed. Okay. And sometimes it'll take more, more than one situation, you know.
And once you dismantle the belief,
Mm-hmm.
rewrite the story,
Mm-hmm.
that in turn will allow us to react differently
Yes.
to those situations.
Exactamundo. Yes. We do what we in the healing, we dismantle it, not only by rewriting the story and seeing it from a different perspective, but we also dismantle it energetically. Like every belief has an energetic grid throughout our energy system, which I haven't had a show on energy yet, which I'm going to. And I'll go into like a little bit to energy anatomy, but like every belief seriously has like a seed of karma in our chakras, which are our energy centers in our body that bring life force to our organs and glands, and certain aspects to our personality and our in relation to heaven and earth. So in our human experience. But we have to dismantle it energetically, which is something an energy healer can do. But by retelling the story, rewriting the story, it begins to dismantle it. And then we actually energetically dismantle it. And, when we retell that story to ourselves and recreate a new story, then our mind and our nervous system will respond to that, because our nervous system and our mind have been responding to the original story for a long time. And so we might have to keep reminding. So a lot of times I say to my clients, keep your notes, or like record when we're doing a healing, because what we channel to disprove the rewriting part of the story, we actually help them rewrite the story. That is important to sometimes remind ourselves, especially when we notice that we get triggered. And when we get triggered, then we can remind ourselves and that helps to dismantle it. Then we can do affirmations. So these are some of the tools that we can work with, to help us out, with rewriting our stories, and dismantling and rewiring our beliefs, and um, retraining our subconscious to match our conscious mind of what we now know. And that's, we can say that we know something, but do we embody it? And what it means to embody it is actually feel it. Feel it in our being, feel it in our body. Like, not just an intellectual knowing, but a being. So it's like you're completely vibrating at that, and you're not just coming from an intellectual, mental standpoint. So being able to feel the truth of the new way of believing, and then you create a new way of being, and you consciously create your reality from a perspective standpoint in how things show up in your life on an emotional and mental level, and then in a physical level sometimes too. And it's an important part of, manifesting and conscious creating as well, because it literally, that's what we're doing. We're shifting and changing everything so that we can create things showing up differently. Like that example about support. And I talked about support in the last show. If you didn't see it, it was a really good show about the inner child. And I told a story about my perceptions of me being supported. And I can see, as I shifted over the years about that belief, how it shows up. Doesn't mean I don't get triggered by it. I still do, less often and less intense. And I will notice and correct myself much easier, you know. But we're talking about a lifetime of believing that and experiencing that over and over and over. The letdown of people, the abandonment, the people not showing up for me. But in I saw that, so like that was my reality, and then it clicked, and so it will, no matter what it is. So um a lot has to do how you feel about yourself, is like how you will perform in life and how you will perform. And I was thinking about that recently with myself, because as you go through a dark night, you go through self doubt, and you kind of lose your confidence. And it might seem like you had confidence before and then now you don't. But you lose that confidence only to gain it further and become more strong in your confidence and your belief in your way of being. You become more empowered in it. So when you go through the dark night of the soul, you'll go through lack consciousness, you'll go through doubt, all of these things. But as you come out of it, you definitely will grow into a stronger confidence, a stronger empowerment, um, a stronger um, perception of abundance and prosperity, if that makes sense.
Now, the core of this is derivative of self-love, correct?
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. And the road to self-love, I mean, because we are not taught to love ourselves. We're not, we we really aren't taught self-love, to grow up loving ourselves and to grow up with confidence, um, for the most part. But I think you guys like, I was listening to, I went away this past weekend, went on a little getaway and, with, one of my coworkers, and she had the audiobook of, Matthew McConaughey, and I really, really liked it. I'm telling you, you guys, it's really inspiring. I've only listened to like 2 chapters or something, but it's really inspiring because, his parents were a trip. And, some might say they were abusive and they're very toxic in a lot of ways. But like, I love his perspective of it, of how it made him who he is. And isn't that true? And, I had a really strange childhood, really very challenging childhood, not much stability. Um, but there was it did make me who I am. And I've grown to become proud of who I am. I slip sometimes, but I think it was just he just tells it beautifully how their dysfunction was a good thing. Like I really, really, really loved it. And he calls it recognizing green lights. Like I really, really, really enjoy that too. And understanding red lights and yellow lights and green lights in life. And um it's really interesting. So I recommend that book, you guys. Um it's really nice. And I don't really fancy listening to audiobooks. I don't like the voices a lot of times, but he narrates his own book. And he even uses a lot of inflection and a lot of like accents and stuff. And it's really neat. And it made me really respect him and really, drove home to me how everything is for us and we can turn anything is a positive, anything can be negative, just depends on our perception. Just depends on our perception. Um, if I had parents that were around all the time and were really, you know, there influenced me, I wouldn't have had the influence of all these other people who helped raise me and parent me, my village, you know. A lot of times I think nowadays people shelter their children and they like don't let them experience the world and a lot of people. In one way you think you're protecting them, but another way you're coddling them and you're holding them back, and they're not going to know how to deal with people and function in life. And I think that I was able to experience so many people and have so many influences, and that was really beautiful, um, for my life experience and my path, and you know helping create who I am today. um, so yeah, so the subconscious is really important that we retrain it, is my point, because 95%, you guys, that's a lot. But I feel like as we're shifting, don't you feel like as we're shifting consciously, as a collective, I feel like we are operating less and less from the subconscious and operating more and more from the conscious. And I feel like, too, like in my other shows, with Tiffany, and I was listening to some great shows about what Tiffany and I were talking about actually this past weekend, about these cycles and the cycles and how the planets and how we are positioned in the universe, and all of these cycles, 12,000, 6,000 years, 2,000 year cycles, 600-year cycles. And right now we're hitting so many cycles at once. And you can see how even in the past 100 years, how or the past 200 years, how how things have been repeating. There's the women's issues, the race issues, the sexual offender issues coming up. There is, even though we might not be having an actual civil war, it's a lot like we're having like a mental, emotional civil war, so to speak. You know what I mean? So we're repeating a lot of cycles, and those cycles influence us, and it's like cycles of nature. So like winter, summer, spring, fall, and we're entering the spring of the Aquarian age, but also the spring of these other bigger cycles that I am not an expert at. But it's like we go to sleep and we're in darkness, and we don't we lack knowledge. And I think the part of being like everything being so subconscious and hidden from us is part of these cycles as well. And so as we enter into these cycles of coming into the light more, things are more coming into our conscious mind, if that
At
makes
least
sense.
in our part of the world.
Well, I mean, there is all over the world, because there's people that believe like us and teach the same thing that I'm teaching all over the world. I mean, there's this guy in New Zealand that's like super, super famous that I know of, that Jesse Wayand, I can't remember his last name, something like that. I really like that guy, and he's pretty remarkable. And there's just I get amazed at how um catch wind of these people from Australia, from New Zealand, from like Switzerland. I even have like students that from all over the world that are into this stuff and know this stuff. And I know other people who the people who I was listening to talk about these cycles, the one guy, I believe he was Irish, and he was talking to an American gal, but that American gal had been talking to someone from England. So it is really, I think it is worldwide. And the indigenous people, they've known this stuff all like for a long time.
I meant just as we're talking when you were saying no war whatsoever.
Oh,
You see what
war.
I'm saying?
Oh, the war
Because
part.
that's going
Okay.
on in another,
Yeah.
place.
Yeah.
And
Oh, yes.
so I was
And that would be
referring to-
more like repeating World War II, or a
Right.
world war.
And we
but
are
not
the ones who are
necessarily the
going
civil.
into the springtime right now.
Mhm.
But there's other people, wherever they're located, are going into winter.
Yeah, but I just mean the springtime of the cycle, meaning more awareness, where you're poking our heads up and going, oh, wow, okay, I see the sun shining out there, and like I'm
Now-
understanding things differently,
Now
kind
I
of thing, an
understand.
awakening, like a spiritual awakening, like like so I think that my time is pretty much up. So I'm gonna go. It's 444, guys. It's 444. Angel numbers. As you become more conscious, you'll notice repetitive numbers, and you can look them up, what they mean. I know 4 has something to do with creating stability. Okay. So I am Donna Lakes, and you can follow me on Instagram, YouTube, which I haven't developed my YouTube very much yet, but I'm beginning to. And on Facebook and TikTok. So that's Donna Lakes. And then if you want to make a donation, you can at Venmo at Donna-Lakes. Also, Ascension Healing Arts Center is my center and my school. I teach a lot of workshops. And we have other teachers teaching other things as well, and a bunch of different types of holistic, natural health, and healing experts there. And so ascensionhealingartcenter.com is our website. Ascension Healing Arts Center, follow us on Instagram and Facebook. And I had a lovely time with you guys. And I look forward to speaking to you next week. Alrighty, take care. Bye bye.
How long was